Welcome to the Broadside Podcast.
With host, my dad, Andy Elliott.
All right, well, welcome back to another episode of the Broadside Podcast. I'm Andy Elliott, and this is another episode of the Bulletin series. It's kind of where I dive into a little bit of news, events, projects, and everything related to hunting, fishing, and the great outdoors. Today, we're going to get into a little bit of everything. A short little rant about some stuff, some fishing and hunting updates, and a little bit of a recap of the last commission meeting. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. So start off with a quick little rant. Recently, the Department of Fish and Wildlife posted a blog about wolves on their social media pages for International Wolf Day. Now, not being a fan of the damage that wolves can do to livestock and wildlife herds, I'm not a big fan of that. But the fact is, they're here to stay. They didn't get planted here. They naturally migrated here. The reality is also that we can't just wipe all the wolves out and build a border wall. What we do need is proper management, and everybody needs to remember that the person posting the wolf picture on the Instagram and running the social media page is not the person making decisions about wolf management. So just be respectful with your comments. It paints a bad picture of people. So, we'll shift over a little bit, still slightly on a rant, but in the last commission meeting during the public comment session, someone who seems to be against hunting voiced their opinions. They read out comments that individuals had left remarks on a WDFW post. It was about pride post that the WDFW did. Now, these comments were pretty hateful. It showed a lot of hate towards some groups of people. Now, I invite all walks of life to join in the outdoor experience, hunting and fishing. Now, as I've said before, I would way rather be the only one in the woods. We all know that's not possible. We need all the people that we can get, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, or political view. We can all put that stuff aside and come together for conservation and our way of life. The shoot, shovel, and shut up mentality and the angry marks on social media only paint hunters in a negative light. I mean, here's the thing. I'm all for free speech. The First Amendment protects our rights to express our opinions, but words can have consequences, and emotional-filled comments on public posts give anti-hunting activists ammunition to use against us. So my request is simple. When commenting on these platforms where our words can be twisted, let's stick to facts, personal experiences, and what it means to you, rather than getting caught up in emotional arguments, because the moment you do that, you lose. You're not helping anybody. So, enough for a rant today. I'll move on to a little bit of news from the WDFW. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife and Snohomish County are collaborating on a habitat restoration project out at the Spencer Island unit and of the Snoqualmie Wildlife Area. The aim is to improve Chinook salmon habitat and overall ecosystem recovery while considering public recreational use. They are seeking public input through a virtual meeting on August 31st and an online feedback form available from August 31st to September 24th. The project aligns with the Snoqualmie Wildlife Area Management Plan. The vision is to provide estuary marsh habitat for wildlife and other public wildlife viewing and waterfowl hunting opportunities. Excuse me. Spencer Island is located in the Snohomish River estuary, and was historically developed for grazing and agriculture. I'm struggling today. Resulting in habitat loss for fish and wildlife. Restoration efforts involve strategies like dike lowering, dike breaches, and tidal channel configuration. This project receives support from National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration grant and collaboration funding from the Corps, the Army Corps of Engineers. WDFW manages vast acres of land and water access areas, working to preserve natural spaces for both human and wildlife benefit. Sounds like that's a pretty good deal they got going on out there. I've spent a little time out towards Spencer Island. Moving on to something else here. So, if you haven't seen multi-season the way they're going to run the tags just came out. I'm sure you got the email. But during August, some deer and elk hunters who applied for multi-season permits but didn't draw have the opportunity to acquire remaining tags. Around 2,491 multi-season deer tags and 129 multi-season elk tags are available for purchase. These tags are being offered to the next sequential 129 hunters on the original elk multi-season draw. The deer ones, were first come first serve, which made sense. I'm not sure how many are available still or if they're all gone. But the elk one was such a limited amount of tags that they decided to just move on down the list. So the way that works is if the next 50 people take their tags, the remaining tags will then go to the next however many people. I'm not doing that math. So the 129 winners of the elk tags will receive email notifications, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife from the Department of Fish and Wildlife on Tuesday, August 15th, which has already happened. So if you didn't get an email, you didn't get chosen. This grants them the chance to buy the tags. They will have until midnight on Thursday, August 31st, to make the purchase. On the other hand, the 2,491 remaining deer tags, like I said, will be available for purchase as a first-come, first-served basis starting 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, August 17th, which is past. There's no specified purchase deadline. They will be available until the tag limit is gone. I'm a little late on this. I've been trying to record this thing for a while, but every time I sat down to do this, more shit came up that I thought people might want to know. So forgive me if you already know this and this is long past, but interested hunters should have purchased a 2023 multi-season permit application. Those with 2023 general season transport tags must surrender them to the WDFW or a licensed dealer within 5 days of buying the multi-season tag. The multi-season deer tag costs $139.10. The multi-season elk tags are priced at $182, with the same costs for both residents and non-residents. These multi-season tags enable hunters to participate in all three weapon choices: modern firearm, muzzleloader, and archery, as per the specified regulations and seasons. Lastly, the Department of Fish and Wildlife's mission is to involves conserving and safeguarding fish, wildlife ecosystems while offering sustainable recreational and commercial opportunities for fishing and hunting. We'll just throw that in there. It's part of the news article. Moving on. Our faithful leader, Jay Inslee, in little news about him. In the ongoing debate over the management of wolves here in Washington State, tension between state officials has escalated, leading to several letters exchanged. The disagreement revolves around the proposal to downgrade the status of wolves from endangered to sensitive/protected. The differing opinions on the matter, Governor, and there are differing opinions on the matter. Governor Jay Inslee. He initially made a request to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, urging them to not to adopt the recommendation from the department on downlisting the wolves. The kind of throwing his weight around. But this request was met with a strong response from the WDFW director, Kelly Suswin, who criticized the governor's involvement, stating that it undermines the agency's process, which I agree with. If he didn't trust these people to do the job correctly, why did he appoint them, right? Inslee argued that the proposed downlisting contradicts WDFW regulations and disregards the stakeholder-developed wolf conservation and management plan. He expressed concerns about reducing wolf protections and potential implications for wolf populations in the state, and that's probably because he doesn't understand how stuff works. Suswin countered by highlighting the agency's careful consideration in the decision-making process, emphasizing that the draft recommendation maintains protected status for wolves, including the prohibition of hunting. I don't understand why people think that downlisting them means that we're going to just be able to go out and buy over-the-counter wolf tags. But people regurgitate the shit they're fed. So he acknowledged the governor's concerns and assured him that they would be taken into account during the finalization of the recommendation for the commission. The dispute highlights the complex nature of managing wolf populations with conservationists and policymakers. Um, it's they're engaging in a delicate balancing act between recovering efforts and stakeholder interests. The decision regarding the wolf status will have significant implications for ongoing efforts to ensure the species coexistence with other wildlife and human activities in Washington. This will be interesting to see how this plays out with the request from Colorado for wolves. What does that mean to the status? And I could be late. There might be more news on that by the time you hear this. I'm interested to see how that goes. So, but moving on to a little bit of news, and speaking of Kelly, Kelly Susman, the director of the Department of Fish and Wildlife, if you haven't listened, he was on the last episode, or not the last, but he was on episode 14 of the Broadside podcast. Go check it out. It was a great conversation from Kelly. I think transparency with the department's great, and these guys are all coming on and giving us some answers to some tough questions, and yeah, that's great. So, but anyways, he kind of reminds us in that episode the importance it has for us to be submitting your hunting reports, guys. If they don't have the science, which they're asking for more science all the time, and we're not doing our part by reporting, and maybe there's an area where there's not enough info for them, but if we would have been reporting, they could have not gone off of a precautionary measure and maybe issued some more tags. So make sure you're putting those in. And he also mentioned that there's an incentive for reporting early. You get put into some pretty awesome draws for some special tags. So they need the best data from boots on the ground people like hunters and fishers. So yeah, if they aren't getting the data, they're just going to come up with more excuses to limit tags. Let's give them all the info. To sum up the commission news, Lorna Smith, who was sued for holding a seat on the commission illegally, has resigned from her Jefferson County Planning Commission spot, ultimately making her seat now legal somehow, even though she was illegally appointed. But it seems like I don't think Inslee really cares about that. He's kind of skipped over a pile of state laws pertaining to how appointments of the commission members go, like reaching out to stakeholder groups and the time between certain appointments and the balance of the commission, which we clearly do not have a balance. But so speaking of the commission, the meeting on the last commission meeting held in Olympia on the 10th through the 12th of August, boy, was that a doozy. There was a big tent committee meeting along with a wildlife committee meeting, a fish committee meeting, and a habitat committee meeting on Thursday the 10th. They discussed the draft conservation policy, where public comment was open and received, there was 380 in support of the policy, and 1,237 who commented that was opposed to it. So in my book, that's a win. Everyone opposed to it seems to be pro-hunting. I have not seen one anti-hunter opposed to it or pro-hunter for it. So, and recently from comments made by some of the commissioners, that should be science and data that they can use to not pass this thing, right? Since that's how the public comments work. Also, comments made by Commissioners Smith, Lemke, and Reagan summed up. They still want to push forward with and proceed as planned on the timeline with this policy, regardless of the pushback and controversy, that comes with it. There was a splash of some common sense that we got from one of the commissioners, the newer ones, Parker. Commissioner Parker, he made a good comment.
To wrap this up, I'm hoping that we are not contemplating moving this conservation policy forward with all of the a concern that has been shown, particularly by the hunting and fishing community. I think that would send a very bad message.
Roland, Commissioner Rowland's reply can kind of be summed up in this one clip.
And there are many of us who believe that the commission and the department have not been fulfilling those statutory responsibilities when the basic focus and the basic constituency is hunters and fishers. That is not to say there is no room for hunting and fishing. Clearly, hunting and fishing is part of our statute too. That is legal, and we are to manage it, and we are directed to manage it that way. So I understand that the hunters and fishers could be getting nervous, and I think they should be getting nervous because they have been pretty much in complete control for a very long time in terms of the focus and the priorities of the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
That clip raised a lot of eyebrows and red flags for a lot of people that are pro hunting. You can see more of these past meetings on the WDFW's website. All the audio and video available is there for all your enjoyment. I will post a link to where you can find these videos and watch these meetings. There's actually a cool little deal on the bottom. It's a transcript with a search bar, so you can kind of type in keywords and maybe find the story you're looking for a little easier, not have to sit through 7 hours of a commission meeting that's already happened. So kind of what I gathered from it, and a lot of people have, long story short, is that they're setting up to bring up rulemaking from what we gathered from this last meeting, not just that big tent committee stuff, but they're setting up to bring up rulemaking for bear and cougar hunting, and seem like they're moving the goalposts to kind of put us in the same position we were in during the spring bear, where they will be able to not have the science, not have the seasons happen because they feel as though they didn't receive the science they asked for. And you can kind of hear that echoed from the Deputy Director, Amy Windrup, here in this clip.
As somebody who's going to try to help staff figure out the next step forward, I think what we've experienced just in the last few minutes of mentioning the words bear and cougar is a complete shift in the energy of this room to a lot of energy around bear and cougar. And I think that if the commission chooses to take up bear and cougar seasons between now and April, staff will not have the information that is desired. We will be in the same position we were for the spring bear conversation, unable to answer the questions that commissioners rightfully have. Donnie is starting a process. It is the start of a process. It will not be completed by the time you have to make the decision that's in front of you.
If you've watched the meeting, you can kind of see the staff is basically being told that the commission wants some answers to some science and some stuff and some data. And then as the staff asks, kind of, can you be more specific on what stuff and data you want? It almost comes off to me, this is personal opinion of my own, they're being pretty vague and leaving themselves open for using it as an excuse later on that all the answers to their questions didn't come, so they can pull the same spring bear thing on all bear and cougar hunting. But that's my personal opinion, not those of... I can't speak for everybody. So Friday and Saturday of the meeting was open to the public, and it started very heavy with anti-hunting commentators, minus a couple of our own there, good friends, Mike and Marie, in person. Shout out to everybody that showed up. That was pro hunting, whether you commented or not. A presence like that's always felt. Sportsmen and women speaking up to a point where I feel, sorry. It started off very heavy with anti-hunting commenters, and like I said, and it quickly transitioned to a pile of pro-hunting people calling in. Sportsmen and women were speaking up to a point where I feel like they almost cut the comment section off short to maybe, I don't know, put a Band-Aid on the damage, because you guys are doing a great job. There was a pile of us that showed up to comment. That's just my theory. But I feel like Chair Baker was realizing it wasn't really going her friend's way, or maybe they're not friends. All speculation. But now between Friday and Saturday, the pro-hunting comments did outnumber the anti-hunting comments. Now, calling all comments either anti or pro-hunting is painting with a pretty wide brush, but saying all that commented one way are either that, just, it's just the feeling that I got from the comments that I heard, and the way they stood on certain issues. But, that being said, I think we can do better. I know the Conservation Coalition of Washington, who I'm a part of, the whole group's working pretty hard on getting more people engaged. We're working on some ways to help people come up with ideas on what to say when they speak. I think we're kind of coming along with, they have all the facts and science. We need to stop beating dead horses. And I think personal accounts, what hunting means to you, maybe some great stories of hunting, how it affected your life, is the route we need to go. We need to show these people that, hunters aren't just barbarians slinging 300 Win Mags out of windows of pickups at whatever they see, and show them that this is a sustainable way of life for healthy food that we share with friends and family, and limit waste of animals. If we weren't doing it, the department would have to be doing it, and they just end up in the landfill. But once again, I don't have a crystal ball, but that's just kind of how I would see things going. So if we can continue to grow numbers on involvement and comments and emails and in-person testimony, it will really put a damper on their idea that they have about us. And, I think for a long time they've been getting away with doing whatever they want because we're not showing up. And I don't think they were prepared for what we're bringing. So reach out to someone, sign up with howlforwildlife.org, BHA, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. They do a really good job at sending out notifications and action items to get involved. If you're looking to speak but don't know how or what to talk about, reach out to the Conservation Coalition on Facebook or Instagram. People will be able to help guide you on maybe a good speech. And we're working on some guidelines to make sure that we don't go in there with emotions, and make sure that we're heard. But with that being said, moving on to some bigger news throughout the country, not just Washington. It's apparently the only hunter that the Biden administration cares about can't keep track of a laptop, because they haven't heard. If you haven't heard, the Biden administration is withholding key funding for schools with hunter ed courses and archery hunting courses. According to the Hunter Education Association, the Hunters Ed classes train and certify more than 500,000 students annually. These classes have helped lower hunting-related and firearm-related injuries. As a government who's supposed to protect our rights, like the Second Amendment, I think it would be their duty to further train people to be safely handling things that we are have a God-given right to have. But take that take that what you will, with what you will. Take that how you will, or however the hell you say it. But so that's kind of all the news and stuff I've got for you. But moving on to some events, projects that are on the way in the area. Anything I've mentioned, I'm going to have some links to. Hopefully, you guys can get signed up. If it's near you, go help out. But check out the social media posts. I have a link tree in my bio. So that, if you have any questions, reach out. But as I mentioned, the Conservation Coalition of Washington. Here's Dane with some info on some stuff coming up.
Hey folks, it's Dane here from the Conservation Coalition of Washington. First off, thanks Andy for allowing me to do this part of the bulletin. So I just wanted to come on here and let everyone know about upcoming commission meetings. So on September 29th and 30th. The next big meeting will be held in Yakima. There's still no address for it yet, but black bear timber damage will be discussed. We will post the address on our Instagram page as the meeting gets closer. We just want to come on here and let you guys know about the meetings to get them on your calendar. Black bear timber damage will be discussed on September 28th. That Thursday will be committee meetings, and as we learned from August, you're going to want to pay attention to those committee meetings because you don't know what's going to be said, and we need to start paying attention to what is being talked about in those meetings. So get those on your calendar. We'll post an address as it gets closer. But the big part that we want to talk to you about is the October meeting on the 27th and 28th. This will be held in Olympia in the Natural Resources Building, same address as the August meeting. The reason why we're coming on here to tell you about this meeting is because this is going to be one of the most important. It's going to be a very consequential meeting. The commission will be voting on the conservation policy, which has been discussed for about 2 years now. They heard public comment from it in June, and here's the thing: hunters outnumbered anti-hunters in public feedback by a very large number. But we need to go down to Olympia and show support because coincidentally this meeting is right in the middle of prime blacktail deer season, and we need to show them that hunters are willing to show up even if it's during hunting season. So I want to talk with you guys about some plans that we're developing for it. First, we're developing a hunter carpool system. It's a great way to save gas, and we can bus a ton of hunters to the meeting. Well, not literally bus, but you know what I mean with carpool. So they're all going to we're going to get a ton of folks down at the meeting to make their voice heard. And we're going to have people showing up in fluorescent orange or hunting caps representing your favorite influencers, organizations, or brands. And to show commission and to represent the hunters and show them that we are organized, educated, and informed. If you're in the Olympia area, come on down. If you can't come down due to work or just if you're too far from it, you can call in on Zoom and on your phone number. When the time comes for this one, we will be posting how to sign up, the address, and any organization details. We will be working with some other folks on this one. Don't want to say too much yet, but be on the lookout for it. We just wanted to come on here, get these meetings on your calendar, and yeah, hope to see you speak at these meetings.
And so also the WDFW is hosting National Hunting and Fishing Day on September 30th and will be at Camp Cowles in Newport, Washington. The event will have conservation organization display and info, door prizes, fun giveaways, casting practice, knot tying, fish prints, and track plaster casting. So if you're in the area, bring the whole dang family. It sounds like that'd be a good time. The WDFW is also working with the North American Versatile Hunting Dog Association and First Hunt Foundation and putting on a youth pheasant hunt. It's happening Saturday, September 16th at 8 a.m. in Kittitas at the Green Gate Pheasant Release site. All that info can be found on the WDFW's website. I will also post links to those events where you can sign up. So moving on to the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers who have some events coming up. To fill you in kind of on what they have coming down the pipeline, here is Mandy Carlstrom.
Hey there, my name is Mandy. I am the communications lead on the Washington State chapter of BHA. I would love to tell you about a couple events that we've got coming up, and we want to see you out there. The first is going to be the Green Mountain Cleanup, which is happening on August 27th, starting at 8 a.m., goes through 12. We'll have donuts and coffee in the morning, burgers and brats for lunch. Bring the whole family. It'll be great to help pick up that problem area, make sure that we keep that public access open. We've also got another Beers and Bios over at the Hunt in Spokane on September 27th. And BHA AFI has a garbage and grouse event in conjunction with Trash No Land, where we'll be able to help pick up the area around Capitol State Forest. That'll be occurring on October 14th. So if you need additional information, head on over to our BHA calendar. We've got all the details on how to RSVP there. And looking forward to seeing you out there.
And last but not least, to top it off, make sure you guys do what you can to go to this event. It's an event being put on by Backcountry Outdoors, Cantrail Outdoors, and the Sportsman's Alliance. And so here's James Forsland from Backcountry Outdoors with a little more info on what that's going to be like.
Hello, Broadside Podcast listeners. This is James with Backcountry Outdoors. Wanted to get on here real quick and share with you an event that we're doing September 12th from 5:30 to 8:30. We will be hosting an event in partnership with the Sportsman's Alliance. We're going to be raising money at this event for litigation fees, lawyer fees to fight the Washington State Game Commission. We have, as hunters, lost so much already, and we're continuing down this road to lose everything. So if you would like to help fight for our hunting and fishing rights in the state of Washington, please show up at this event. There's going to be live auction items, some hunts that we're going to auction off. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be a silent auction. There's going to be beer. There's going to be food. So if you're interested in helping us fight this Washington State Game Commission, please show up at this event. Be generous, and we're going to raise a bunch of money and hopefully get some really cool stuff accomplished. So thank you all, and we'll see you on September 12th at the Skookum Brewery in Arlington, Washington. Thank you.
And that is all I got for you today. So thanks for joining me on this episode of the Broadside Podcast. Remember to support those who support you. I'm working on a couple cool projects coming up, so stay tuned. Like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me talk. And stay wild.